At an event last night in Tel Aviv on the anniversary of the October the 7th attacks, Agam Berger provided the soundtrack. She was taken hostage by Hamas and spent 482 days in captivity. At around the same time as this was happening, US envoy Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner were en route to try to turbocharge the Sharm El-Sheikh talks. They arrived today, a big moment for Egypt too, so state television brought out the dramatic music. The momentum had arrived, which could among other things result in the remaining hostages, both alive and deceased, coming home.
It's me, Bipin Joshi. I'm from Nepal.
People like Bipin Joshi. Today his family in Nepal released a proof-of-life video filmed by Hamas, which the family first received shortly after he was abducted in October 2023.
I work in agricultural farm in citrus and lemon farm.
No sign of life has been received since, and in May Israel said his fate was unknown, but the family is holding out hope. The Nepali agriculture student had arrived in Israel just 3 weeks before the attack. If the talks in Sharm El-Sheikh are successful, 48 hostages, 20 of whom are alive, will be exchanged for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners and detainees, as has happened on previous occasions. Today, Hamas handed over the names of the people they want released. Included are at least 250 Palestinians serving life sentences given from Israeli courts. Hamas were demanding that people like Marwan Barghouti, a would-be leader of a Palestinian state, be included on the list. Part of Trump's 20-point plan involves rebuilding Gaza, and there will be a lot of that to do because the IDF continues to level swathes of the place, including here in Gaza City just today. Since last month, the IDF has dramatically increased its use of explosive-laden armoured personnel carriers like this one, which are operated remotely. The IDF is reportedly destroying up to 300 residential units a day in Gaza City using these robotic vehicles, and this is what it looks like when they go off. It's so loud, people report having headaches for hours afterwards. This morning in the Sabra area of Gaza City, several of these were detonated. This was the aftermath. According to residents, the vehicles were put in position yesterday and detonated in the early hours.
وزي ما انت شايف حجم الدمار اللي المنطقه فيه والله ما احنا عارفين احنا زينا زي هالناس يعني حتى كمان الواحد زي المصدوم حتى مش عارف ايش اللي بده يعمل.
They point out what remains of the vehicle, twisted caterpillar truck. We asked the IDF about these robotic exploding vehicles today. In response, they said their operations are based on military necessity, comply with international law, and precautions are taken to minimize harm to civilians. But many of these are civilian residential units. And more than that, kitchens and bedrooms and living rooms where people forged memories, found security. Homes, places where the heart was.
Well, one of the parties with a stake in the future of Gaza after these talks is, of course, the Palestinian Authority, which has exercised some control over the West Bank since the Oslo Accords. Its Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs is Omar Awadallah, and he joins me now live from Ramallah. Thank you for joining us. The latest optimism is talking about an agreement as soon as tomorrow. Do you think that's possible?
We hope so. Actually, while looking at all those leaders that already arrived to Sharm El-Sheikh, we believe that it is possible to have this agreement. We've been looking for this moment for more than 2 years now, just to stop the killing and to stop the famine and stop all this aggression against our people. So we are optimistic that we might achieve something this time.
Now, are you expecting this just to be an agreement on stage one, effectively on a ceasefire of the Israeli bombing in Gaza and the release of the hostages, or is it likely to go beyond that?
We believe that because of the presence of Mr. Kushner and Mr. Witkoff and the Prime Minister of Qatar and the head of the intelligence from Turkey and our brothers from Egypt are there, we think that they might start with the first stage about the ceasefire and stop the aggression and the release of prisoners and hostages. They might also agree on other stages, mainly the withdrawal of Israel out of Gaza, because it will be difficult to have any kind of recovery or relief in Gaza with the presence of the Israeli occupying army in Gaza Strip. So we think it is an opportunity to talk about all major issues within this deal, with Mr. Trump's plan to achieve actually not only the ceasefire and the release of the hostages and the prisoners, but to go deep into the withdrawal of Israel out of Gaza Strip and to bring back life to Gaza by the early recovery and the relief.
Right, but what about this transitional authority? Obviously, there's the board, which is chaired by Donald Trump and has Tony Blair on it. But the day-to-day running of Gaza is supposed to be some sort of neutral, technocratic administration. Do you have any idea who's involved in that?
Yes, we have for sure, because we've been discussing this since months at least. Now we were talking about the transitional committee for 6 months or something like this. We had also thinking about names and technocratic Palestinian personnel that they can be those who are working within Gaza. At least we as a Palestinian government, we still providing the basic services to Gaza. We are exclusively there in education, in health, in water, in energy, and relief. We are there. So I think this transitional committee was part of the Arab Islamic reconstruction plan of Gaza. So that's something that we agreed upon before. So it might run quickly once there is a ceasefire and there is a release of hostages and there is a withdrawal from the Israeli occupying forces in Gaza.
Minister, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, it's being reported that White House officials also believe good progress has been made in the talks in Egypt. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected at parallel talks with European and Arab ministers tomorrow in Paris. Our US editor, Anushka Astana, joins us now live from Washington. What are you hearing there?
So at the moment in Egypt, the focus is on stage one of these talks, essentially getting hostages and detainees out, moving towards a ceasefire. It's my understanding that the talks in Paris tomorrow will focus on phase two of all of this, the implementation. Some of the thornier issues, including, for example, around Palestinian statehood. It is being chaired by Emmanuel Macron, the French president, maybe wants to take a leading role like he did at the UN General Assembly, but with around 15 to 20 foreign ministers, including our Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper and, as you said, Marco Rubio. One thing I haven't heard as much about is the idea of Donald Trump as chair of the Board of Peace, but everyone is very clear that his role has been absolutely key to all of this. And look, if there is some success, he'll certainly be lobbying for the Nobel Peace Prize, maybe not on Friday, because that's for last year, but maybe into next year.
Right, but Donald Trump's push for peace in Israel and Gaza is something of a contrast to what's going on domestically in the United States.
Yeah, abroad he wants to be a peacekeeper. Peace, Kushner, is not a word I would use for what Donald Trump appears to want here in the US right now. He has renamed his Department of Defense as the Department of War and has been absolutely explicit. He wants to go after the enemy within. And right now it feels like that is cities here in the US run by Democratic politicians, with tensions mounting at the moment in Chicago, where he has sent in the National Guard and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, so-called ICE officers. And we can actually show you some scenes from the weekend, and you can see that there are some aggressive arrests going on there. Local politicians talking about masked people grabbing people off streets. One local state senator saying parents are afraid to actually walk their children to school. And look, we're seeing protests about all of this. Donald Trump says it's all about crime, but he said today that the Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and State Governor J.B. Pritzker should be put in jail for failing to help ICE officers. Now, critics are seeing a pattern here. They're seeing a president who is going after his political enemies. And in another thing that we've seen today, that James Comey, the former FBI director, pleaded not guilty near here in Virginia to accusations he misled a Senate committee. Critics are clear. They think that this is a politically motivated case. It's been a tense relationship with Donald Trump since the pair met back in 2017. And he is clear. He thinks this is vindictive and selective. That is what James Comey's lawyer said today.